Hello and welcome to the Marketing Times Analytics Podcast. I'm your host, Alex Sofronas, and today we're on with Chris Dayley. Chris, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, and thanks for having me on, by the way, to the chat today. So I am a longtime digital marketing entrepreneur. I've been in the digital marketing space for about 15 years now, a little over 15 years actually. I got my start doing search engine optimization back in the days when SEO was easy, and transitioned to conversion rate optimization back in 2012. So I've been doing conversion rate optimization now for about 13 years. I started my first business as an agency in 2014. So for the last about 11 years, I've been working with brands as a CRO consultant to help improve conversion rates and understand user behavior on websites. So I've worked with, at this point, a couple hundred brands and have absolutely loved what I do. So excited to talk a little bit more about that, but that's a brief background on me.
Oh, awesome. So you mentioned that back when SEO was easy. Tell us more about that. Like what has changed? What made it easy before?
Yeah, back when I started in SEO, again, this is back in 2010, 2011, it was there. Google hadn't rolled out many of its current updates that I think have qualified some of the content that was built. And so back in those days, and I don't know if these tactics are still being used, but link wheels were popular, where you create a bunch of sites and link to each other and then use all of that link juice to link to your one website that you want to rank. But back in those days, it was just really all about links. That was all that mattered. And so one of the businesses that I was working at in-house, we, over about a 6-month time frame, we were able to triple the organic traffic we were generating just by, again, linking to our website from a few credible sources and getting ranked for some, I don't know, I would say relatively competitive terms. But I remember at the time, I went in and presented this to the executive team, and I had all these graphs that were going up and to the right, and sat down in this boardroom. And so I was excited to showcase all these results and showed, hey, we've tripled all of our organic traffic. We're getting all this new traffic to the site. And I remember the CEO at the company that I was at said, that sounds really nice. What does that actually mean for the business? And I was like, what do you mean? He was like, how many customers did that actually generate for us? And I said, I don't know. All I was worried about at the time was traffic. And so as we started digging in to figure out what happened with all that traffic we were generating, we realized that our conversion rates had actually decreased significantly, and we really weren't generating any net new conversions off of that traffic. So we'd gotten all of this traffic, but we weren't converting anybody. So of course that rattled my marketing brain, and I was trying to figure out why are these people not converting? And in my mind, there was one of two answers. One was the traffic sucks, or the second answer was our website sucks. Either we're getting the wrong people or we have the wrong experience. And of course, as a marketer, I refused to accept that the traffic sucks. I'm like, I know this traffic's good. It's got to be good. So I started asking around at the company I was at what might be wrong with our website. So I went to the design team and sat down with the designers, and I was like, okay, we're getting all this traffic. Why isn't it converting? And the designers said, it can't be the design. This is like cutting edge design. We have the most beautiful designs on our website. So it's definitely not the design. So then I went to the development team and asked, is there anything wrong with our website? And they said, oh no, everything's working great. 99.99% uptime, blah, 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 all that stuff. So all of the stakeholders of the website, as far as they were concerned, everything was great. But on my end, on the performance side of things, it wasn't working for our customers. And so I did some research on Google and discovered that you could run A/B tests on a website to try to improve things. And so I took one of the pages on our site that we were driving a lot of traffic to. I used an A/B testing tool and I duplicated the page that we were sending a lot of traffic to. And I had no idea what I was doing at the time. There was no strategy, there was no tactics, but I just took one of our current pages and shortened it significantly. So I created a shorter version of the page. Now, again, I'm not saying that's what everybody should do, but that's one. I just thought, let's try it. Let's see what will happen. And so split traffic between those two pages, and lo and behold, the new page that I had created converted like 14% better than our old design. And as soon as I saw that, a couple things really jumped out at me. Number one was, wow, this one A/B test that I just ran drove more impact for the business than all of the SEO I've been doing combined, right? And the second thing was, wow, the designers and developers that I was talking to, while from their perspective, the design looked nice, and from the developer's perspective, everything was working properly, they have no idea what's going to actually convert visitors into customers, right? Like they're in their own world making nice designs and developing pages that aren't broken, but they're not concerned about what actually works for visitors. And so what it helped me to understand was there needs to be something else in addition to just design and development, right? There has to be something where we're learning what our customers want instead of just guessing or using best practices, because best practices in this case weren't what the customers needed. So that was how I got my introduction into the world of conversion rate optimization. But yeah, again, those are the glory days, I think, of SEO, back when a few links went a long way.
Yeah. So now, how have you seen SEO become more challenging? Is it related to increased competitiveness, that maybe there's more like use of all of the best practices so they no longer differentiate you well enough? How have you seen it change?
Yeah, and granted, I'm not in the SEO space anymore, and so I'm not on the cutting edge of SEO these days. But from what I've observed from a distance, there's a lot more qualification of the SEO work that you do. Like I said, back when I was doing SEO, Google was a lot dumber than it is now, right? So you could just throw up a bunch of links and it really didn't matter what website it was even on, right? Google didn't care really what site you were linking from. They didn't really care what the context was of the link. They didn't care the quality of the content, how much it was engaged with, whether or not people were talking about it, posting about it, engaging with it, etc. There really wasn't any qualification of the content that you were using. And so, of course, Google has become a lot smarter and a lot wiser. And now the context matters a lot, and the quality of the content matters a lot, and the context of the link matters a lot, and the context of the site you're getting a link from matters a lot. And there's a multitude of new things that matter that didn't matter, that wasn't even like social media and engagement on social media. That was completely irrelevant back in the day, or largely irrelevant. And so a lot of those kinds of things just didn't exist back in those days. And so I would say the types of things that you need to do to be successful in SEO now are much more diverse and require a lot more strategy. Like I said, not that you didn't need strategy back in the old days, but back in the old days, it was just like, hey, we need to link for some terms. Let's go get some links. And that was about it. We need to rank for these terms or whatever. Let's just find we can buy some links. We can make our own links. We can cross-link from other sites that we own. I remember one of the companies that I was working in-house for, part of the SEO strategy was they had bought like 5,000 different domains. So we owned thousands of domains expressly for the purpose of linking to our important. We had like 3 core sites that were important, and the other several thousand were just to get some links back to those 3 sites. So I don't know whether or not people still do that. I'm sure people still do that, but that was an easy strategy back in the day.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So I want to get closer to what you're doing now. So conversion rate optimization. What are some of the most common pitfalls for clients that don't have a strong conversion rate optimization muscle built?
So I'll say there are a couple of major hurdles. When I start working with a new business or when I talk to businesses, one of the first questions that I will ask is, have you done conversion rate optimization? What have you done to optimize conversion rates? And then I'll also ask, have you ever done an A/B test before on the site? And usually the answer to both those questions is yes, we've done stuff. And then the answers that come in are always just like sandpaper on a chalkboard for me. When I ask, what have you done to improve conversion rates? The most common answers are, we have a UX expert, AKA we have this designer that says they know what the best practices are out there, that has implemented these designs, or we paid this UX agency to implement these designs that supposedly work, right? either they've worked in our industry before, they know our industry really well, they worked with XYZ big competitor, or they'll say, there's this huge competitor of ours. And then they'll give this big story, this big song and dance about why this big competitor is so credible and trustworthy to copy. So here's our big competitor. We know that they've done all kinds of testing on their site, and they went from 0 to 10 million in 1 year. And whether or not they have any data, obviously what they're doing is working. And so we figure that's probably a safe bet, right? So I'll get all kinds of stories like that about why the approach that they've taken, which isn't data driven, why this gut approach they've taken should be a credible approach. I'll also get, when I ask, have you ever done an A/B test before? So they'll talk about, oh yeah, we did this big redesign. It was based on this competitor. I'll ask, oh, how do you know that new design worked? And they'll say, oh, we tested it against our old site. And I'll say, okay, how did you test it? We launched it and we compared conversion rates after we launched to conversion rates before we launched, and conversion rates went up, and or whatever. They'll name off all these metrics that went up and improved. Of course, to those who have done any real A/B testing before, that's not a valid test at all. In fact, it's not even a test because, and I'll give this example. I have clients almost every month that are not launching new designs, that really aren't doing anything new on the website, that will email me in a panic and they'll say, Chris, conversion rates tanked this week. What happened? And then my job is to go in and understand, well, why are conversion rates tanking right now? And almost always it'll be either there's some seasonality, there is some just natural market fluctuation, or the most common reason that conversion rates are tanking is you just got a big influx of traffic from some crappy traffic source, right? You got a bunch of meta traffic, and meta traffic is very high funnel and it just doesn't convert very well, right? Or you guys did a big new ads push and you're expanding your funnel. And so of course, when you're expanding your funnel and you're increasing your budget, of course that traffic's not going to convert very well. And so when you look at a blended conversion rate and you're driving a lot of crappy traffic, of course your conversion rate's going to go down. But going back to this whole, like, we launched our site and conversion rates went up. My question always then is, how do you know that had anything to do with your website? What if conversion rates were going to go up anyways? Because maybe in concert with launching your new site, you guys also turned off your ads to remove some of the noise, right? And when you turn off ads, guess what? Your conversion rate's going to go up. So there's all kinds of like mixed signals and things that are coming in there. And so I think the pitfalls that come with trying to optimize for conversion rates are really these mental limitations of, we're taking these gut approaches, we're doing this gut feel conversion rate optimization. We think we know what we're doing, and in reality, we don't know what we're doing. The analogy that I give to my clients a lot is when it comes to these tactics, these common pitfalls. So there's this guy known as the Flying Monk a few years ago. He was one of the early attempts to build an airplane, but obviously he had no idea what an airplane was. There was no airplane back then. So this guy wanted to build he tried to build a flying suit. And the way that he did it was he looked at other creatures that could fly, a bird, for example, and he said, okay, what do birds have? Birds have wings and they have feathers and they have a tail. So he built a suit for himself with wings on his arms, and he put feathers in there, and he put a little tail on his butt and went and climbed up on top of a building and jumped off. And of course, to us, that sounds stupid, and we know that it's not going to work. He thought that it was going to work, though, because he thought that he was copying another thing that could fly. And of course, he fell down and broke his legs and gave up on that whole thing. But that's basically what most businesses are doing. When you just look at a competitor and you say, oh, they have a video on their homepage, and oh, they've got reviews on their homepage, and they have this and that. You're basically just saying, oh, the bird has feathers and the bird has wings, so let's just do that, right? When in reality, you have no idea, even if this other competitor of yours is super successful, you have no idea the principles of why they're successful. It may have nothing to do with the video on their homepage. It may have nothing to do with the paragraph of content that you copied and tweaked slightly. It may have a lot more to do with the front end marketing that they're seeing. It may have to do with their brand. It may have to do with their unique business model that's different than yours. There's a lot of things that influence conversion rates. And so when you're going and just copying a competitor, you really might be copying all of the wrong things.
Yeah, that's really insightful. I love that story. Yeah, I mean, that really speaks to the importance of having a tailored strategy for your own business rather than thinking about best practices. A lot of the time I'll hear people say it's best practice to do this. And there is no one best practice. It's all about what is best for your business at that time that aligns with the strategy, and making sure that all the decisions are made in that framework rather than just, like you said, copying what might be an industry best practice, but may not be right for you. Really good point there. I'm curious about your usage of offers and how that might differ between B2B and B2C. Obviously, it's a lot easier on the B2C side to have offers. We see that all the time, but I'm curious, how do you use offers in a B2B context or a B2C context?
And when you say offers, you mean like promotions and the...
Yes. Yeah. Sometimes I'm not clear about that. So thanks for clarifying. Yeah. Not offers in the sense of positioning your product and what's your offer to the market. It's more like a limited time promotion, something that might give a discount or some kind of a benefit in the short term, in addition to the main product offering.
Yeah, so B2B, it is definitely a different world than B2C. B2C, a promotion just involves usually discounting somehow, right? And there's some limited time urgency that can be applied there. In B2B, usually what we're looking at is we're looking at creating some kind of, even if it is some artificial urgency, to spark interest from visitors. So if you are more of a lead generation type business, if you're a services business, if you are like an agency, for example, what I have seen work in some cases is something like, we have 5 client spots open right now, limited availability. We're looking for the top 5 businesses that X, Y, and Z. So you can create some kind of urgency or create some kind of limited availability that can spark interest, or again promote the customer or the visitor to convert with a higher urgency. Now, if you're a larger business, a larger B2B business, and you're in some kind of a services space, that approach may not work. And so instead of doing that, other approaches may involve creating these like limited space events. Now, an event could be something like an in-person workshop or some sort of webinar where you're trying to create some sort of engagement with the community. And with those, again, limited availability can work wonders. I have a good friend of mine that is the best top LinkedIn consultant in the world, and he works with some of the biggest companies in the world. And he'll do these workshops once or twice a year, and he charges quite a bit, but he'll only open up like 30 spaces for these in-person workshops, and it will fill up in 5 to 10 minutes every time. And he has people clamoring to join these events. And for businesses that are looking to really generate leads, creating some sort of like limited availability type event can be fantastic. And again, this is great for feeding your funnel. It's great for, a lot of times you'll close most of the people that come to those events because they're essentially paying to be pitched by you. And so those are fantastic opportunities. Outside of that, in like an everyday scenario, if you're not looking to create an event or these like one-off type scenarios, if you're looking for an ongoing evergreen type offer, really what you're mostly looking for is you're looking for some kind of offer that creates urgency in the mind of your potential buyer. So if you think about it this way, what is the pain point that your current customer has, right? So if you are if you are a carpet cleaning business, right? What you'll need to do, and you're marketing to businesses, right? You're a B2B type carpet cleaning business. What you need to figure out is, what is the pain point that my customer's having right now, that my potential customer's having right now? And then how can I create some kind of immediate need for them? If carpet cleaning isn't something that it's something that they're probably already doing, but maybe they're not doing very often, or maybe they're just doing themselves. What is the thing that's really going to convince them that they need to take action now, right? So it may be highlighting a pain point that they may not know, like bringing up even a question. Did you know that 9 out of 10 carpets have bacteria that can be whatever? I have no idea. I don't know what a carpet cleaning business might highlight, but bringing up something that might spark their interest and go, oh, shoot, yeah, I need to jump right on that. It could also just be you're wasting thousands of dollars per month on crappy carpet cleaning solutions. Our carpet cleaning solution is one and done. You don't have to worry about this again for another year, whatever it might be. Just spitballing some ideas here. But the idea behind the offer there, if you're trying to create an evergreen offer, is creating something that will either intensify the pain point that the customer already has or make them aware of a pain point that they may not already be aware of. So again, with SaaS companies, frequently this is you're wasting hours and hours of your time right now generating reports or going to these meetings or whatever it is, right? We're going to save you hours of time per month. Creating that thing there's a significant amount of value that you're missing out on right now by not using us.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And this is something, again, going back to, so my whole approach is testing based, right? So when I come in and I work with a client, here's what I typically do. And you can even use AI in this scenario to help spur ideas. But usually what I'll say to my clients is, give me 5 to 10 major pain points or value propositions that you think you have for your business. What are the 5 to 10 reasons that someone needs to work with you? And if you're having a hard time brainstorming that, which most businesses probably won't, but you can even plug this into ChatGPT and say, give me 5 to 10 compelling reasons why somebody should work with my company, and just plug in your URL. And you'll usually get some ideas that are good, that'll push you a little bit further outside of your current tunnel vision. But then what we'll do is we'll say, okay, let's organize these into 3 or 4 categories, right? So we may have one category that's like the benefits of working with us. So the benefits of working with us is you don't have to worry, you don't have to this, whatever it might be. Let's talk about another category might be pain points that people are having right now, money lost, time lost, whatever it might be. And then we'll have another category, which might be fear of missing out or social proof, or everybody else is using us saying, or we're on the cutting edge and kind of a thing. So what I'll do is we'll take that list of value propositions and pain points, we'll organize them into a few key categories, and then we'll run an A/B test. And we'll say, okay, let's create on one of our landing pages, we'll create a benefits version where all the content is centered around the benefits. Let's create a second version of this landing page where it's all pain point driven. A third version that's maybe social proof or fear of missing out or whatever it is, right? And so on and so forth, right? You create 3 or 4 different versions of this landing page and then just test it. And it's really fascinating actually to see what works. In some industries, if you're highlighting the pain points, that can really drive conversion. In some of my clients' worlds, the pain points actually decrease conversion rates significantly because it puts the customer in a bad mental state. But these are fantastic tests to run to say, hey, let's create, and again, maybe one of your categories is just this like urgency offer kind of a deal like I was describing before. But if you create all of these and test them against each other, you'll get a really good sense for what does our customer respond to? Are they responding to benefits? Are they responding to value propositions? Are they responding to urgency? Would they respond to some sort of free offer, whether that's a free audit or a free analysis or report or free worksheet or whatever it is, right? Would they respond better to a free this, or would they respond better to just a flat out demo request type of an offer? So that's always my approach, is saying, okay, let's brainstorm a bunch of ideas here. Let's put together a few different approaches, and then we'll run an A/B test and see what works best.
That makes a lot of sense. So I'm curious, related to testing, when you're looking at down funnel conversion for the results of an optimization, how are you analyzing Or like, how are you attributing traffic to sales?
Yeah. So I think really the question here is there is a obvious difference between quantity of conversions and quality of conversions, right? So when there is a sales process involved and we're saying, hey, we're generating leads, we might have one version of a test that generates 100 leads and a second version of a test that generates 10 leads. But if all 10 of those leads close into a deal and only one out of 100 of the other leads closes into a deal, we'd way rather have the 10 leads that all close, right? Rather than the 100 leads that don't close. And so really what we're doing in those kind of cases is it's a two-step optimization. So we have the leading indicator, which is the conversion rate, right? That's the how many leads did we generate, or how many high funnel conversions did we generate? Maybe that's webinar signups or white paper downloads or whatever, signups, registrations for our event. And what I will typically do in those cases is we'll actually just pass along the variation that the customer saw. We'll pass that along into the back end, into the CRM or whatever it is that that my client's using to track the sales process. And then we'll allow the data to pile up there over the course of 2 to 3 months or whatever the sales process looks like. Now, for some businesses, it's like a 6 to 9 month like sales process where you might not even get that customer to close for 9 months. In those cases, usually what I do with my clients is we'll say, hey, let's run this A/B test. Maybe we'll get the data back within a month. Well, let's push the winner, whichever one converted the highest, and we'll run with that for now. We'll assume that whichever one has the highest conversion rate is our best performer, right? Obviously, we're going to keep monitoring the data, and then we'll circle back around on this in 6 to 9 months, and we'll see how did those leads play out over the last 6 to 9 months. All right, because you don't want to have your hands tied for 9 months waiting for close percentages to come in on those leads before you can make any decisions. Well, usually, again, we use the leading indicators, the conversion rates. We'll use those to drive the business decisions in the short term. And then we'll have a review window set up, like I said, 6 to 9 months down the road to go back and look at, okay, let's bucket all of these leads that we generated into the different variations, and let's see what the close rates were on them. And if they're not substantially different, then it's great. We'll just go with the one that had the highest conversion rate, right? But if the close rate on one of them was significantly higher, then we may go back and change the decision we made 6 to 9 months ago. But that's the best approach that I've found for, again, maintaining some sort of an agile approach. It's funny too, when I start talking to clients about this, a lot of times they'll have concerns about this, where it's if we might just revert our changes in 6 to 9 months, then why are we making decisions now? But it's ironic because businesses do that all the time, right? They roll out new site designs all the time. They don't even bat an eyelash at the fact that they have no data around that new site design. They'll just launch the new site design without any data at all. And so that's usually what I need to remind my clients is, hey, we're making data-driven decisions here with the best data that we have at the time. And we at least have a process set up here for monitoring the quality of those conversions over time. That's the important part, is making sure that you have some sort of process in place. Outside of that, you're just guessing.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Any last tips on businesses that want to get into conversion rate optimization but don't know where to start?
Yeah, so one important aspect here is using a good A/B testing tool. There's lots of tools out there that you can use. So what you don't want to do is, and I'll say this is one other, I didn't mention this earlier, but this is one other pitfall of businesses. Don't just ask your web developer if they can do A/B testing, because every web developer will say, yes, of course I could do A/B testing. You really don't want your developers doing that, though, for a couple of reasons. Number one, that's not their area of expertise, right? So you need a marketing mindset, a performance-based marketing mindset to create a good conversion rate optimization strategy. And that's not a specialty of developers, right? So you really want them to be focused on the areas that they are strongest in. The other reason is, and I think most businesses, this is probably why most businesses don't do any kind of A/B testing, is most developers already are way over, like they already have way more work than they can handle. right? And so you don't want to add more to their plate. If your developers already are a month or two out with any new things that you add onto their plate, if you add on A/B testing onto a developer's backlog, it's going to get about that amount of time and you're not going to really get any attention to it. So if you're going to start doing it, don't give it to a developer. You need to have somebody else that is managing this. And you need to find a good testing tool. So there's lots of great tools out there, VWO, Convert. I mean, there are dozens of A/B testing tools that you can use. And depending on your platform, Shopify has some A/B testing tools or A/B testing apps that you can add there. WordPress has all kinds of stuff. Magento has stuff, like whatever site, whatever platform you're built on, you can have, there are A/B testing tools that have native integrations. And if you have a custom site, like I said, you can use a VWO or a Convert or something like that, Optimizely. And then what I would say is you want to get some fairly simple tests built. My favorite test to get started with, that is honestly one of the most informative tests that I run for my clients, is what I call an existence test. Happens to be one of the easiest tests to build and one of the best in terms of results. And so all you do is you take a page on your site, we'll say a landing page that you're sending traffic to, and you go through and you create 3 or 4 different versions of that page. And on each one, you remove a section from the page, right? It might be a section of content. It might be a video. It might be an image section. It might be a reviews and testimonials section, whatever it is. But each variation of the test, you're going to go and just remove a section. Very simple to do. And what this is going to do is 2 things. Number one, it's going to tell you what is working really well on your site, on your page. And number 2, it's going to help you identify anything that's actually hurting your conversion rates. Your mind would be blown if you saw some of the data that I have with my clients. Like I have clients where we've tested removing hero offers and it doubles conversion rates. I have clients where they've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on video content, and removing the videos increases conversion rates substantially. All right. So it's amazing actually what these types of tests will do is they will help you as a business challenge your own assumptions and challenge the status quo. Like I said, they're also fairly simple tests to run. And the best part about it is even if you just validate that everything you have on your page is working, let's say that you create 3 different versions, each one you remove a section, and all of them perform worse, which means that all of those sections are helping your conversion rates. That's fantastic because now you have data proving that all of this stuff on your site is actually helping your customers. And so next time you go to do a website redesign, next time you go to figure out what should or shouldn't be on your page, you don't have to guess anymore. Now you have data saying, hey, we actually tested removing this thing and our conversion rates dropped, so we want to keep this thing. So that's, I would say, one of the best and easiest places to get started. Get an A/B testing tool set up and run one of these existence tests on one of your key or crucial conversion pages. And I can guarantee you'll find something interesting there that'll get you started down this path.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris. That's so insightful. And I really appreciate you joining the podcast to share your thoughts. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Awesome. And thanks everyone for listening. We'll talk to you soon.